In the previous video clip, we calculated the capital loss of the seller in the secondary market. He bought it at 10%, sold it at 11%, and we calculated a capital loss. Now we want to calculate the yield of the seller. Because the seller, if the seller had kept the instrument from the 1st of March until the 30th of April, his yield would have been 10%. Right. But because he sold it at 11% before the expiry date, we now have to calculate what his actual yield is. Now, yield is always calculated as the total income whatever the instrument is divided by the amount paid. Right? But we want an annual yield. We always want to convert it to an annual figure. So we have to divide by the number of days that it belonged to them, the holding period, so 25 days, and multiply by 365. Right, so you divide by the number of days that it belonged to him, then you will get your yield per day, and then to get the annual yield, you multiply by 365, the number of days in a year. So we know the total income is the difference between the price at which he bought it, 1 million, and the price at which it was sold in the secondary market, 1,005,809. So the total income is this, 5,800 rand and 9 cents, and the price at which he bought it was 1 million. So divided by 1 million times 365 divided by 25. If we now calculate that using the calculator, 5,800.09 divided by 1 million times 365 divided by 25, and that gives us 0.084681 or 8.47%. Right, so if we compare his actual yield, 8.47%, to the yield at which he bought it, which was 10%, we see that it was lower. It was a lower yield. And of course, the reason for the lower yield is because it was sold at a capital loss. So we have now, for an interest add-on instrument, calculated the maturity value in the first video clip. Then we calculated the price at which it was sold in the secondary market when it traded at 11%. We calculated the total income of the seller. We looked at the accrued interest that the seller earned or would have earned for this period. We calculated the seller's capital loss by comparing the total income and the accrued interest. And then finally, we calculated the yield of the seller when it was sold in the secondary market for an interest rate that was higher than the interest rate at which it was bought. So always when you're doing calculations about interest add-on instruments, you have to be very careful to see which interest rate you are working with and which number of days you are working with. So it's best to put everything on this schedule and to write it in. What is the interest rate on this day? What is the price on this day? What is the interest rate when it trades in the secondary market? What is the price on this day? What is the maturity value when the instrument is finally going to mature? Right. So those are the different things we can ask you to calculate concerning an interest add-on instrument.